So, for example, you could say, I'm going to express importance in relation to a certain point, and so I'll use the expression, it's important to note, or significantly or importantly. Or I might want to add something new to a previous concept, so I'll say something like further, or in addition to, or what's more. The author at this point knows you're adding something to the previous text, and there's probably going to be a reason why you've added it at the end, and you'll explain why. And you might say something like, therefore, or consequently, or thus. And then you're indicating your attitude to that final bit of text and what it serves, what it adds, and why. Another thing you might do is make an unexpected concession or contrast. So you'll say something like, in spite of this, and then add a further point. Or you might say, nevertheless. You could express a condition. You could say, provided that, or so long as. Or you could indicate a trend. You could say, in response to this current trend, or an emerging pattern can be seen. Or you might say, recent developments suggest. And the whole way through, what you're doing is driving towards indicating a position. So the way this would happen in an introduction, for example, is to say, this essay is going to discuss whether video conferencing should be used in criminal courts in New South Wales. What are the benefits? What are the risks? And in order to drive this discussion, this paper will list 3 particular kinds of situation where video conferencing might be used. It will evaluate some scholarship, and finally it will conclude that the benefits do indeed outweigh the risks. So there's a perfectly good introduction, but there's a lot of procedural text in there. I've set out what we're going to do. That's procedural. Listed 3 things to discuss. That's procedural. And then finally suggested what we're going to conclude. Also procedural. You would expect in any essay that the introduction and the conclusion would have a lot of procedural text, because that's where you begin and then drive home your argument. What happens with the paragraphs in between is there's a lot of content, and the content is like evidence. It's just the scholarship, the case law, the legislation, the facts. And then you build around that at the beginning and end of each paragraph, and then in a final paragraph before the conclusion, some evaluation or some discussion about that.